Hi, folks. I appreciate your flexibility and being largely online for a bit. Um, yeah, as promised, I'm going to do a little video answer key of app 5. Before I do that, a note about grades. So you've heard me say before, I don't care about your grades, I care about you learning. That is still the case. But I know you care about your grades, many of you. And I do care about you. So if that's something that's important to you, there's going to be lots of opportunities to get the grade you want in this class. In this case, I do not want you redoing this assignment. Um, you've got App 6, you've got an exam coming up, you've got too much going on to redo this. Plus, I'm about to give you the answers, so that wouldn't really make sense. But if you do want to improve your score for this skill, the way this will work, there'll be a section on the exam, which is this exact same skill. And if you so choose, you can use your grade on that part of the exam, would basically double count. It would count for the part of the exam, and then it would also overwrite this part. We'll talk about that more in class, but I just wanted to let you know there's going to be that opportunity. All right, so let's take a look at this. Okay, here's the assignment. Hopefully you read closely, and even more, hopefully you actually looked at the survey, because I think that would help. So here's a survey. I've jumped forward a couple screens, but here's probably the kind of the key one. During your most recent stay, how frequently did you? And these are these 4 sustainable actions. I gave you data on 3 of them. Never to always. So this is a interval scale. So we treat this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Okay. So let's go back here. Here are our results. It's a cross tab. It's a cross tab because we have 1 bit of nominal data, whether they participated in the program or not, and 1 bit of interval data. Okay. So what this tells us is people in For the Earth were more likely to use their water bottle. They're quite a bit more likely to reuse towels. Public transport usage was about the same. Now, if you're wondering like how big is big enough, because there's no t-test here, right? There's no p-value, there's no statistical significance. You're making a judgment call. You could look at percent change. I'd have to do that math real quick, but I think it's safe to say, without me doing the math, that these two are fairly substantial. Try not to use the word significant because that is a very specific meaning. And this one is not. So we would conclude that participants in For the Earth were more likely to reuse their water bottle. They're more likely to reuse their towels, but their public transportation use was about the same. That's your conclusion there. Okay. Then I give you this correlation statistic. Frequency of reuse of water bottle usage and taking public transportation is negative 0.02. Again, reminder, this is a correlation statistic, not a p-value. So this is going to go from +1 to -1. At the edges of that are strong, towards 0 are weak. So this is really near 0. So this is almost null, almost null. It is negative. So negatives are enemies. They run away from each other. So technically, the more you use public transportation, the less likely you use the water bottle, but it's almost no relationship. Like really, you can conclude that those 2 things don't have anything to do with each other. Okay, so the conclusion there is those 2 things don't have anything to do with each other. Next, social media awareness. So let me go back to the survey here so we can see it. Actually, I think, oh, I screwed up. I went too far. Anyway, in the survey, it asked if you'd seen the social media, right? For the Earth participants only people in For the Earth, because they were the ones getting social media. Okay. For people who did see it, here's their average usage across those things. For people who do not see it, here's their average usage. And you can see, again, you're going to make a little bit of judgment call, that these numbers are really close to each other. They're almost identical. So what you can conclude here is that there is very little difference in sustainable behaviors based on whether or not they saw the social media. In other words, the social media just didn't work. Like it didn't seem to make a difference. And so you might want to address that in your recommendations. So that kind of covers A. That does cover A. B, again, I was looking for anything that made the slightest bit of sense to connect to the data. Every once in a while, someone will give me an explanation that had absolutely nothing to do with the data, but for the most part, you were fine there. C, program management recommendations. The big thing I'm looking for here is that you connect your recommendations to the data. Sometimes people will give me something that might be a good idea, but it has absolutely nothing to do with the data. You do not get many points for that. Sometimes people will give me something, I know it makes sense based on the data, but they don't clearly connect the dots. You got most of the points for that, but I did deduct some. So what you're going to want to say here, for example, let's start with the top one. Okay. Based on the fact that for the Earth seem to improve water bottle usage and people were using their towels, but not public transportation. The hotel should continue the messaging around water bottles and reuse of towels, but consider doing something else to improve public transportation usage. Maybe that's offering vouchers for public transportation. That's an example. Nothing really to do with the correlation because you don't have anything to do with each other. Okay. Social media awareness, based on the fact, based on the data, that tells us, that says that social media did not make any impact on behaviors. We recommend getting rid of social media, improving social media, posting more frequently, whatever you want to say there, but it's clearly connect to the data. That's really it in a nutshell. Limitations, again, I was pretty lenient on that. I just really wanted to just kind of think. So I think most of you got probably full points on that. So that's it in a nutshell. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll see you in class soon.